Hey, my Shuga Bears, welcome back to my channel, Bougie AF. It's your host, Nicole. It's where I say stay bougie on them. It's me feeding you feminism for the soul. It's my soul food offering. It's where I apply pressure to issues by being critical and logical. Now, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, let's get to the commentary, where I can guarantee you I will be doing too much, because that's just me. And like Sheree said, who's gonna check me, boo?
Welcome back, y'all. You are tuned into the Bougie AF channel with your girl, Nicole, where I say stay bougie on them, and I am serving you feminism for the soul. So listen, you can follow me on Instagram at BougieAF_ish. What I do there, sometimes I like to post like 15 to 25 minutes, sometimes more, depending on how I feel, clips of me kind of synopsing of different rooms that I may be in, Clubhouse, and I just want to just like, it's like my overspill type of room in terms of like what I post on Instagram. So that's the account I have attached to that, to Clubhouse, right? You can also follow me on Twitter at I'm_BougieAF. So listen, on Twitter, it's just, I'm a hot ass mess. Like, so whatever I think, I tweet, you know what I mean? If I'm watching something, I tweet about it. I mean, I don't know who sees it. I mean, I just put it out there. I call it my Dear Diary, Twitter. That's most definitely what I use it for. If you know what I'm talking about, then you do know what I'll be talking about. I'm not really too shy about anything that I put out on Twitter. And it just is what it is. But yeah, it's most definitely my diary place. If I'm thinking something, if I'm out, if I'm annoyed with something, I most definitely will put it most definitely there. I have most definitely gotten away from like I won't tweet how I feel like while I'm at work. That I won't do, for obvious reasons, because people are just weird, and I think people like to make assumptions, and you know, just because I'm at work or anywhere, like even if I'm sitting at home and I'm tweeting something, and it may be something of some type of frustration or aggravated with something, it necessarily doesn't mean I'm frustrated or aggravated with people or someone who's like close to me. So I think sometimes the wrong conclusions can be made. You know what I mean? So that's why I say I tend not to try to tweet at work of like how I feel and if I'm mad about something, because I could still be at work and be mad about something like privately or something I may see. It just it is what it is, and necessarily isn't reference to anybody that I'm close to. And that's just, I don't know, it's just weird. And plus, I'm really good with telling you if I'm mad at you. You know, I can either tell you, or I can either show you by just not associating and talking to you. And I think that's what you're supposed to do as an adult. Like, that's just me, but you know, everybody's not me. All right, so what brought me to get on this camera today, because like I said, I'm going to try to get on the camera a little more and more, but I am nursing like an eye situation. Looking too much at the screen and reading and stuff really fucks with my eyes. So until I can figure that out a little bit, I haven't been able to post videos like I want to. So there's no problem with like me not wanting to do the work or anything like that. Or, you know, just, I know consistency is like how you achieve what you want. But right now, if I'm in a lot of pain, like I'm in pain right now, but I'm not, it's bearable, so that's why I'm trying to get this video done. But a lot of times it's too painful, and it gets worse as I start reading and stuff. So that's why I haven't been posting a lot of videos. So I do have these older glasses on. Y'all see them? They are tore up. Like, they are old. But I am trying to see if whether or not my glasses that I was wearing, if maybe something is off about that prescription. I have tried one of like these cheaper eyewear places and stuff like that, and I know I need a progressive lens and stuff. So I wonder if maybe if I did not get that, and if maybe if that's causing some damage to my eye or causing it to feel the way it does. So I'm trying these older ones, and I'm gonna wear these for a little bit and see, because what I do know, I pay attention, y'all. I pay attention. Like, I mean, I could literally even have headphones on and music playing, and I promise you, I'm still paying attention. But you know, sometimes I'm not. I don't know how to explain me. Sometimes I can be really aloof. I can be really aloof at times. I can seem as though I'm not paying attention, or I can come across as sometimes even blonde. Like my sister used to say, my sister says it a lot. My younger sister, she said, "You act so blonde sometimes to be like smart and shit," and I'd be like, oh. But it's just, I don't know. So there is most definitely, I do have that duality in my personality. Can most definitely be kind of petty and childish at times, in a funny way. I like to think it's funny. It's like to think it's me being funny. I most definitely give it. You know, I most definitely, whatever you give, I'm gonna give back. Most definitely that type of person. What else? What else? What else? Yeah, but that's most definitely me. So I'm gonna get on here more. Like I don't have a problem with it, but like I said, this eye is killing me, and it keeps me from being able to do that. But we are here for Jussie Smollett. If y'all don't know, he has been sentenced to 30 months, and a part of that, those 30 months, he has to spend 150 of those days in the jail. So he is actually in Cook County Jail right now in them people Chicago. We are very nervous about our brother Jussie, but he seems like he got all the black strong power going on thing with him. So he seemed like he may be good though. He may be good. He may be good. Maybe a little sabbatical. Maybe he might get a little tussled around a little bit, but I think he might enjoy that. I think Jussie will be okay, to be completely honest. But we are reviewing what the judge had to say about Jussie Smollett. Like I'm team the judge on this. I think he got it right, and I think there's a lot of people trying to turn this into some like a Malcolm X, MLK type of social injustice type of ish. Like this is really weird. Like everyone seems to be trying to jump into that bag of like turning their personal like issues into a black issue, and that's just not it. We seen Tasha K do it on YouTube. Like all of a sudden it's oppression. All of a sudden it's the man. All of a sudden it's like who made you lie, fucking though? Like who made you come up with it, right? So that's becomes frustrating, you know. Being a black American, and just recently the anti-lynching bill just got passed, someone like Jussie Smollett playing with something that is so meaningful to our countries and our, especially our people's history, it's like that's embarrassing, right? And then here we are with excuses for the dysfunction, right? Instead of saying, no, nigga, you fucked up this time. You got to answer for that. And what did we learn from trying to protect somebody who won't even admit that they did something wrong? Like I'm never gonna be on that side. Like I don't care what it is, if it's black, white, green. I don't care. If you can't do the right thing by just admitting that you lied and admitting that you're wrong and behave in a contrite way, how dare you turn around, or how dare people think that somebody should feel bad for somebody like that? Billy Badass got to take his ass into the fucking jail, and that's just what it is. That's just what it is. So I want to try to hear what the judge says, because I thought the judge got it on. Like the judge was on one. Like the judge was on spot. I love everything, how he synopsed it. I loved how he analyzed it. I love how he knew the significance of what a noose and all of that. I love how he knew his history, right? And he knew to say and call different things out in terms of Jussie's personality, in terms of what he displayed in arrogance. Y'all, he went on a tour. Jussie went on a tour. He went on them people's GMA in Good Morning America with our good sis Robin Roberts, and made her look bad because you a whole damn liar. She's trying to, keep it professional, but also hold it down. But like, you just a damn liar, and you were relishing in the moment. The gay Tupac? Are you serious? Even I cringe. Tupac was so much more than a rapper. I mean, he had his faults. Nobody say that. But that man actually stood for something. And I think people keep on forgetting that when they try to call themselves the new Tupac. He stood for something. And so I think I forgot who it was. I think it was the baby. Who was it? Was it Fat Joe making more equivalencies that weren't there? Who, I forget who it was, but somebody said that the baby was Martin, was 2020's Tupac, and I'm like, like, niggas been going to jail and getting in trouble for years. Like, what makes the baby so different that you say it's like Tupac? Like, it's just, that's just interesting. It was always like people's lack of understanding or knowing the history about like people is just really weird. And that's one of my like fortes. Like I really like when it comes to music and people in pop culture. And when I think about more stuff, like when I'm trying to brand myself, and so I don't know how we got here, but we here. How I'm trying to brand myself is most definitely like a historian of pop culture, historian of like social events and stuff like that, and actually being really into history and able to tie everything in together. So I think that's my specialty. I think that's what I do really well. And it just is what it is. I mean, I think everybody has their thing that that makes them shine, that they stand out with. But I literally know it's my ability to know my history. All right, so listen. All right, so Jussie, you I know my history. This judge knows his history, and he knows our history, and he's feeling some sort of way, like I'm feeling some sort of way. So I appreciate all the energy that the judge brought to this situation, and how he analyzed it, and how he really was like, yeah, all right. So let me go ahead and play that for y'all. All right. So I know I am using somebody's video, but we are not using their work, their content in terms of their voice or anything they're saying. We're just listening to this because I want the judge. I want what the judge is saying. So.
But then there are crimes of premeditation and trying to make a better future for he was, where he came from. Where he came from.
And,
convicted of hoaxing from Chicago at a sentencing hearing, convicted of faking, hoaxing, racial and homophobic hate crimes. How in the world did this happen?
Judge, how?
Well, there are ironies in this case. And the ironies are many and they are profound. And I'm talking about the testimony I heard under oath from Mr. Smollet, corroborated in large part by the pre-sentence investigation. Mr. Smollet chose to take the witness stand, which of course is his right. He took an oath and he got on the witness stand, and the first thing he did was to introduce himself to the jury. He wanted the jury to know who he was, where he came from, what he was about. And I heard it on the witness stand. I heard it corroborated today by the witnesses that came and testified on his behalf. There's no question. Mr. Smollet was born into a mixed-race family. His mom is an African-American woman. His dad was a white Jewish man. There were 6 siblings. And if you can say anything about this family, and we're talking about a very, very tight-knit family, a village that was always in sync with each other, that cared about each other, was completely, wholly supportive of each other. You know that this family knew about matters about social justice more than anything else. That's what the family stood for. It is part of the fabric of their existence. I know that Jussie Smollet grew up knowing to be sensitive to matters about racial discrimination, any kind of discrimination, any kind of social injustice. As a matter of fact, I'm learning more about it as we're going on in the letters I've been receiving and the testimony I've heard today. He's been doing this all his life. He doesn't just talk the talk, he's walking the walk. He's out there, he's advocating.
This judge is on
involved
point.
in the community. He cares deeply about social justice issues. And for you now to sit here, convicted of hoaxing, hate crimes, racial hate crimes, and homophobic hate crimes, the hypocrisy is just astounding.
Get him, Judge.
Don't know where to begin. I'll remember one
I'm
thing
lost
that
too.
will always stick in my mind, and I've been involved in so many trials over the years, but something happened in this trial that it was remarkable, and it talks about your sensitivity to issues of social justice. You're on the witness stand. You're being cross-examined. Your liberty is at stake. It is your criminal trial. Mr. Webb is winding through some things on cross-examination, and he's going through some social media communications, and whether it was Instagram or chat or text, a little quibbling about that doesn't matter. But Mr. Webb found a line that he wanted to confront you with. He said, "Didn't you say," and he used a word starting with the letter N, "meet me at this place at this time," and I'm paraphrasing. And rather than just answer the question, which is what a witness is supposed to do, and
Come on, Judge, talk about it. Talk about it.
The proceedings. He said, "Mr. Webb, out of respect for all the African American people in this courtroom, you should not be using that word." And I was amazed, but it showed. And I'm not talking about the parrying and the gamesmanship that may go on between a prosecutor and a witness on the stand. That's not why I'm telling this. Recalling this event. But what I'm talking about is how sensitive you were to any kind of slight, that anybody, if the wrong words come out of somebody else's mouth, you're going to get up and speak up and complain about it and make sure that they know that they're not behaving the way you're supposed to behave. So you know better than anybody else.
You know better.
That these are serious matters. They're serious to you. They're clearly serious to you and as your whole family. And for you to be here now, convicted of these hate crimes, it's just astonishing. Faking hate crimes. So why did this happen? That's a good question. I think that's the question on everybody's mind.
Why you do it, Jussie? Why you do it?
For the money. Frankly, I do not believe that you did it for the money. You were making, the evidence showed, close to $2 million a year when this happened. I don't think money motivated you at all. But the only thing I can find is that you really craved the attention, and you wanted to get the attention, and you were so invested in issues of social justice and you knew that this was a sore spot for everybody in this
Everybody.
country. You knew this was a country that was slowly trying to heal past injustices and current injustices, a better future for each other, and it was a hard road.
And that's why I'm doing this video on Jussie. Like, listen, I didn't know if I was gonna get up and do this today. I didn't know if I wanted to talk about it. But that's what the most infuriating part. I want to be consistent about the fact. Y'all know I tell you about all the time that I love to call out the charlatans within our community that use black trauma to profit off of, right? And they use it in different ways. And to me, this is no different. So he knows the history, and that's what I thought was so dope about this judge, is that he's able to come forward and say, "Look, I've talked. I know your family. I mean, in terms of like he able to like probably things that have been submitted from family members. Like he's learned about his family, so he knows where he comes from. Meaning that I know where you come from, and I know what your family believes, right? And I know how you were raised. So I know out of all the people that you know better, right? And there's always this thing that when you know better, you do better. And so with that being said, there is great responsibility, and there are different, you just, there's no ignorance to be played here, right? Of I didn't know what I was doing, I didn't know what this meant. Like there's no ignorance that he can cop to in this situation, right? And so that's what I thought was so dope about the judge. It was like, you of all people knew where you come from, that you knew. And so I can't sit up here and just, even when it comes to looking at somebody maybe from the hood who comes from less, they have more of an excuse of being able to come across as being ignorant of it, of the importance of faking a hate crime and stuff like that, right? So he doesn't have that the ability to scapegoat out of this situation with claiming ignorance, even though ignorance is not a defense of the law. But sometimes it's something that people do take in consideration, like especially for something in terms of sentencing, and whether or not a judge really if a judge could feel as though you may have not understood the totality of what of your actions may have led. Like you probably had no idea. There's just saying that does not exist for him, especially in the sentence, and it will end up happening. But come on, let's keep on here, because like I said, this judge gives it up. Let me see. I think I can show you a little bit of the video, because like I said, I thought the judge was really cool. All right, so here we go.
Took some scabs off some healing wounds and you ripped them apart for one reason. You wanted to make yourself more famous, and for a while it worked. Everybody was talking about you. The lights are on you. You were actually throwing a national pity party for yourself. And why would you do such a thing? Why would you? I understand you crave the attention so much, but why would you betray something like social justice issues, which you care so much about? The only thing I can conclude is that, and I acknowledge there are wonderful sides to you. There are very giving and charitable and loving sides to you. But you have another side of you that is profoundly arrogant and selfish and narcissistic. That's the only thing that can be concluded. And that bad side of you came out during the course of all these events. Let me talk about hate crimes for a minute. I've been a criminal judge for many years, and I've heard many victims of crimes testify in front of me. And any victim of a crime, no matter what.
And that's what's been so hard for me. But listening to the different thoughts and opinions around the Jussie Smollett case, is like there's something I feel like when it comes to us, like we just feel like we have to defend the dysfunction, like we have to defend and find an excuse for people within our community that are wrong, without just being able to just be like, okay, this time, like, you are wrong for what you did, right? I don't need to make it intricate and try to make it about systematic oppression and injustices and all those other things, when we all feel like he's lying, right? Like, and he's still lying. Like, and I don't see, where's the deter. How do you deter somebody else from thinking it's okay to commit hoax and use race, something that's so sensitive in this country? Where's the deter in that, if you're just going to let someone just get away with it in terms of just probation and still be lying? Because that's the message that this would have been really bad. We already have a problem with people chasing clout for success, right? Needing a viral moment, right? So, like, no, I think this was most definitely appropriate.
What the crime is, they are demoralized by what happens to them. It doesn't matter if you're injured unjustifiably, if somebody hurts you and it maybe cripples you or damages you in some fashion, that's going to be long-standing injuries. If your property is stolen, your vehicles are stolen, people go into your homes, your possessions are stolen, people do all kinds of terrible things. It is a demoralizing experience, and sometimes it's the worst experience that anybody can ever go through in their entire life. And then if it turns out that the motivation for the criminal to do something bad to you was because they hate you because of your race, because of your ethnicity, because of your gender, your sexual orientation, your religion, your age, your disability. If that was the reason for it, it is exponentially worse. There is nothing worse than to be a victim of a hate crime. It is the worst thing that can happen, especially in our country with all our history and all that we're going through now to try to get around some of these issues. Hate crimes are the absolute worst. And I believe that you did damage to real hate crimes, to hate crime victims. There are people that are actual, genuine victims of hate crimes that you did damage to. These are people that have a difficult time coming forward. They may be mistrustful. They may not want to bring it to the attention of the community or first responders. There may be some trepidation. I don't know for sure how much damage there was. I don't know how this is going to impact other people, if they're going to be hesitant to come forward because they're going to think that they're going to be accused of acting like you and doing a stunt like you pulled here. I don't know if first responders are going to be more doubtful and skeptical of people that come forward, real victims of hate crime, because of what you did here. I'm hoping it's not that way. Now I'll show one of the ironies in this case, and I find this pretty profound. I got letters from people that advocate about victims of hate crime their entire lives. They devote their lives to this. I'm talking in particular Garrett Johnson, president of the NAACP.
NAACP
Reverend
called.
Jussie Jackson.
Jussie vouching for him.
No introductions necessary. They devote their whole lives to addressing issues about social injustice and hate crimes.
They sure
And
did.
they're here today asking me to show you mercy. And I take that seriously. I find it profound. I take it seriously. And I know that they're in a better position than myself to educate the public about that topic, about the damage you've done to real victims of hate crime. And I am confident that because of all the attention that you've garnered here on this case, that they are going to seize the opportunity and they will educate the public and they'll be talking about this. And they'll try to mitigate some of the damage that you've caused to real victims of hate crimes, and they're better positioned to do it than I am, and I will defer.
Judge. Judge. That is not the Jussie Jackson of old, of yesteryear. That is not the NAACP that you may know from your younger years. You know what I mean? Growing up as a young youth. That's not them niggas. So we are saying F them. We don't give a shit about what the fuck they talking about and what the hell they want. They don't speak for us. Like, they just don't speak for us anymore. They're not out there putting in the work like they used to. So it just is what it is. They don't get to come out and just say, yeah, it's okay. You know, Jussie, he's a good dude. You know, no, they don't get to do that. They don't speak for black people, right? So there's no there's no one voice for us when it comes to stuff like this. So we all have different feelings. We're not a monolith. He's fucked up for using our shit. Like, that just is what it is. I don't care if that doesn't sound like really politically correct or anything like that. But same way we felt when Al Sharpton or which one, Jussie or whichever one, was down in them people St. Louis right after the brown kid got killed. Well, go somewhere with that. Y'all haven't been about the community and really putting in work for quite a few years. They are retired, Judge. So I like that you heard what they had to say and you kept doing what you knew. Like, yeah, get on my face with that. Like, that's what I really feel like the judge was like, yeah. How do you advocate and be about all this type of work and then turn around and be so okay with somebody willing to use it for their own selfish needs?
Done some real damage. Talk about your premeditation. Again, I've been a criminal judge for many years, and I know that people end up where you are right now, awaiting sentencing on their criminal trial. How did they get to court? How did that happen? There's some people that wake up in the morning, they have no intention of doing anything wrong. They're not looking to do anything criminal. it's the last thing on their mind. But there are crimes of impulse that happen. Road rage, a barroom fight, bumping into somebody, words are exchanged that somebody finds insulting, and sometimes weapons are available, and the results can be horrific, and they can be permanent. And people are sitting here and they're wondering themselves, how did I get here? I wasn't looking for trouble, but trouble just seemed to find them. And crimes of impulse. And when I'm saying that I have to put the person and the crime together and try to mix them and understand who it is that committed this crime within the sentencing range, and that's part of my job to do, I consider how the person got here. So, but this is not a crime of impulse. There are also crimes of opportunity. Walking down the street and somebody they left the keys in the car with the motor running. They take the car. Or they're in the department store and they see someone put the credit card on this side and they go to adjust their baggage on the other side and grab the credit card. Those are crimes of opportunity. They didn't wake up thinking they're going to commit a crime, but something just
talk about it.
Looked too tempting to them. They use very bad judgment, and then they get in trouble. But then there are crimes of premeditation, Mr. Smollet. That's what you are all about here. Crime of premeditation. You did wake up in the morning thinking you were going to do something bad and something wrong. And I know more today about this than I ever did before, that there are some wonderful things about you. And I know how people, they cherish you, and they cherish your relationships, and they cherish the good works that you've done. And they love you sincerely and deeply. And they're not faking, they're not lying when they talk to me about their feelings about you and the good things that you've done. But you have that dark side. And this is
talk about it.
You premeditated this case to an extreme that's amazing. You wrote a script. The script involved words. You're going to encounter me on the street, yell out empire, N-word, F-word. You're going to hit me. You're going to beat me up. You're going to put bleach on me. You're going to put a noose around my neck. It's a script that you wrote. Now, it's not a good script, especially for...
I wanted to stop here because what I thought was so dope is that the judge is taking time for you guys to understand that this wasn't just a crime of passion. This wasn't a crime of just opportunity. This wasn't just like, you know what I mean? This wasn't impulsive. Like, this wasn't any of that. This was somebody who thought they were just clever enough to sit down, conspire with some other people, manipulative enough to not understand his power that he has in terms of him being an actor, and these men that were willing to do anything for him in terms of impressing him. Like, he goes further on to explain and say more of that stuff. But I thought it was really dope that he understood, like, dude, like, you know how not well that is? Like, you're not well. Like, you're not well to sit and think something out like this. You're not well to think that it was okay. No, you're not suicidal, but you most definitely is something going on. There's an arrogance that comes with, like, everybody, with knowing everybody loves me and they'll just believe me. Like, there's an arrogance that makes somebody think that that's what's going to happen and actually go through with it. I'd be too scared, like, because this is a lot.
Streeterville in Chicago, it's questionable, but it's a script that you wrote. You picked out the actors. You chose the Oceandero brothers. And why did you do that? Because you knew them. You trusted them. They idolized you. You're an established actor in a serious television production of Empire. They were kind of hangers on there. They're trying to get jobs as extras, maybe a little speaking part here and there, but you were mentoring them. You were helping them. They wanted your advice. They would do anything for you. They thought you were one of the greatest people in the world to know, and that you could help them in their careers. They're in great shape. Gave you a little advice about diet and exercise, but they idolized you, and they would have done anything for you, and you chose them because you knew that you could trust them, that they were loyal to you. You paid them advance by check. Not necessarily a good idea, but it was your idea. It was part of the plan that you would pay them in advance, and the check was out there. The check was shown into evidence. That was part of your premeditation. You chose a date. You chose a time. You chose a location. You had props procured. You gave them a $100 bill and had them get the supplies. What are the supplies in this case? Get masks. Nobody should see you. We're going to say that you're white, but obviously the Oceandero brothers are not white. We're going to cover your faces in masks. We're going to have a red hat because that's going to indicate MAGA country. We're uses a noose, going to procure some bleach, you're going to have the supplies. And you had all that together, and then you did rehearsals. You picked
Not
them up
rehearsals. Not
Around
rehearsals.
the block, you picked them up in Lakeview in their neighborhood, and some distance away, you went to Streeterville where you were living, and you
No, no, no. You do have to salute his commitment. This nigga held rehearsals. It was a practice time. Listen, he was putting the work in for his moment. You gotta love it, yo. He was committed to it. Like that's super dope and sick all at the same damn time. Super dope and sick at the same damn time. To know you are a complete lie. Like he relished in this. He looked it so strong. Like I was like, damn, Jussie out here looking strong. He don't even look gay no more, right? So like he was really it was so masculine. Like he was really into like himself even more. Yeah, oh my god. It was like that real life, like just yeah, it was crazy. It was like a character did come alive after like this situation and his alter ego. Like I'm not even his alter ego at this point, you know, like the real Jussie, right? You know what I mean? That side of him really showed his head like, oh,
showed them. You're going here, you're going there, and you're going over the lines. You're going over the script with them, so they would memorize the script. You're indicating which brother. You're the one that's going to hit me. You're the one that's going to put the noose around my neck and pour the bleach on me. This was planned. This was premeditated to the extreme. And I find that your extreme premeditation in this case is an aggravating factor to me. Let's talk about the incident.
it's an aggravating factor to me.
It's all set up. Shandero brothers are on board. Your plane is running late. Now you had a chance right then and there to think, okay, I'm really late. I'm 4 hours late. This can't go down. It's freezing in Chicago. We're on the verge of a polar vortex. You might have just thought about it and said, you know, maybe it's not in the cards. Maybe the karma's wrong. I shouldn't be doing this. But no. You double down. You start communicating with the brothers through social media. Now, whether it was by texts or chats or Instagram, public or private, one way or another, you kept in touch with them. And there was some quibbling about the specifics about how you kept in touch with them, but they knew what time you were coming in, and now the time is pushed back to 2 o'clock in the morning in the freezing cold weather. It's double digits below zero at 2 o'clock in the morning. You have to have a reason to be out on the street. And the reason you chose is you come up with the story that you needed to get some eggs at Walgreens at 2 o'clock in the morning. If not that, you're going to go to Subway and get a sandwich and a salad and get something to eat at 2 o'clock in the morning in the freezing cold. You did one more thing. You got the Shandero brothers. Now they're on board with you. You're using them as your patsies. You have your friend. You get your friend Brandon on the phone, and here's a man, professional man that's trying to help you in your career. You're not sure what town he's in, if he's in Australia or not, but you get him on the phone, and he's going to be your patsy also, because he's going to listen and be around on the phone to hear that you're being attacked by somebody. Now, he doesn't know what's going on. It's really not an attack, but he's going to be able to corroborate your story. So you're getting that together. You got Brandon on the phone. You're out on the street, ostensibly to get some Subway. You get some Subway, and you're walking to where this is supposed to take place. Now, the Shandero brothers, they're getting ready too. They're doing this because you wanted them to do it on the sneak. No cell phones involved. Make sure nobody sees you get there. And what they think is some kind of clever way of getting there, they have an Uber pick them up from their home in Lakeview. They take the Uber to Old Town. It's a different neighborhood. They get out of the Uber and they get into a cab. Now the cab is supposed to go to Streeterville, but not to the scene where this is supposed to happen, a few blocks away. So nobody actually sees them get out of the cab, and this works out the way you want it to work out. So they get there a little early. They're walking around. They're sitting on a bench for a minute. But at 2 o'clock, the time that you said this is supposed to happen, at the place you said it was supposed to happen, at the moment you said it was supposed to happen, they appear. So you're talking to Brandon on the phone. You have your Subway in hand, and they follow the script. Hey, Empire, word with the letter N, word with the letter F. There's a scuffle. They pour bleach on you. Brandon's listening to this. They attempt to put a noose around your neck during the scuffling. You're getting a little abrasion and scrape on your face. A car goes by, and the brothers take off. They leave. They never did get the noose around your neck. So what do? You gather your belongings. You get the cell phone. You're talking to Brad.
What do you do?
Jump? Yeah, I got jumped.
What do? You go ahead and put that noose on your neck. He gotta finish the job. They didn't finish the script, right? They didn't go all the way through, so he had to finish it, right? Jeez, Judge, you know what he did.
Oh, did you hear what happened? You're trying to make sure that he heard the words that were spoken. You grabbed your food, and you took the noose that they never did get around your neck, and you put it around your own neck. I repeat, you put the noose around your own neck.
Jussie, you need to be where you at, dog.
You go home. Video footage shows that when you walk into your residence, you have this noose dangling loosely around your neck. You go into your apartment. The police are called. The police arrive. The first officer on the scene is Chicago Police Officer Mohammed Bey, in full uniform. The first responder of the first responders. His body cam is on. He sees you. And now he sees that noose is around your neck, but it's not the way that you walked into the house. Now the noose is up at your throat. You removed the noose, and you made it look worse than it was. This is part of your plan. Officer May gets a simple question. What happened? And then you start to lie. And you haven't stopped lying ever since.
Not that you ain't stopped lying ever since.
That's why you're here today. You want to fake an incident on the street, try to get some attention at work, try to have somebody else feel sorry for you. That would never have got you here. The problem was you lied to the police, and you caused all kinds of consternation. You caused a major investigation to take place, which got many people involved and caused great stress throughout the city and throughout the entire community here, and that's the problem. That's why you're here now. Those were the crimes you're convicted of. Not the shenanigans out there, but the lying about it, making it up, and that's why we're here now.
People may have lost their jobs behind this. Like, I don't think people understand. Like, people put their jobs on risk to even try to protect him. Like, the woman, Kim Fox, who is the DA out of the people of Chicago's, like, she has even been investigated because of her handling of this. So, like, people really were trying to ride and protect him. And like I said, I don't know why we're at this place in society where we don't allow people to be held responsible for what they for their actions, right? We get so mad when it's somebody we get together and say in masses that we don't like, in terms of, like, let's say someone like a Donald Trump. There's some of us is really trying to understand he has really committed a crime in a lot of different things and over the years, and continually keeps on getting away with it, right? And then the minute that, you know, society starts to hold people responsible, there's always this outcry by the people who like them, just like them, right? Or the people who are not hurt by them, or the people who are indifferent, to just let people get away with just being really bad people in society. And so that's what it feels like, even when you are talking about people like a Donald Trump, or we continue to see celebrities who keep getting in trouble and getting second chances that most people don't get, but because they don't have money, they are held responsible, right? So we see The Game, we see the Baby, we see all of these people. We see Trey Songz, who continuously get accused of allegedly raping somebody every other year, or maybe every 2 years, right? All these accusations. And we also most definitely ultimately see how society handled R. Kelly and his victims who were speaking out, right? Where it was made more or less like, you know, you should take care, like, you should just, it's more or less, oh, you should get over it. Oh, you should just go heal. And that becomes a lot of the message with people who are trying to victim shame you, or people who just want you to get over whatever has been done to you and accept it in a graceful manner. And the way you gracefully accept it is that you heal and you don't ask for any type of accountability from the other end, right? Because, you know, especially as a Black woman, I always feel like there's this weird programming where, especially because we're talking about a Black man, gay or not, we are still talking about a Black man. And so when you are talking about a Black man and he is, you know, being where society is trying to hold him responsible, and you get this onslaught of the black community saying, and what you see in terms of the NAACP, what you see in terms of Jesse Jackson, you see all these people come out to defend somebody that they like, even though they are wrong, even though they actually are doing more harm to the betterment or whatever the messaging is in terms of like hate crimes, right? This person is taking advantage of a very sensitive situation, but somehow, some way, people are still finding a way to excuse this person's behavior with trying to then turn around and put it back on the system. And that's why this is so hard for so many people when I'm sitting on Clubhouse and certain white people want to before they will acknowledge racism and race and people being a racist, they feel like they have to see something in terms of results of like George Floyd. They have a hard time acknowledging passive aggressive racism and the racism that's not blatant, right? They have a hard time acknowledging that because when you have somebody like a Jussie Smollett who plays around with it becomes like it becomes hard to actually, for some people, I'm not saying for me, and I'm not saying that they're right, but for some people it becomes hard for people to take it serious if your own people will play around with it, and if everything turns into racism. Like this judge sentencing him has now become a part of a conversation where we talk about systematic oppression when Jussie has still not even admitted to being guilty. Where they do that at? Where they do that at? That's crazy to me. But okay, let's keep going. Like I said, shut up this judge.
You repeated your lies at the hospital. 6 counts were put together. The jury found you guilty of 5 of them. One was a little bit different than the others, and I understand that. Let me say, from my vantage point, and I was obviously here at every stage of this trial, I thought the jury's verdict was accurate, correct, wholly corroborated, but what could only be described as overwhelming evidence of guilt against you for lying. That's the crime you're here for, lying to the police. Well, Officer Bay took this very seriously. He said, that's a horrible thing that happened. And he started the process of a police investigation. Detectives got involved. You ended up at the hospital. All things were starting to happen, and this word got out. And you're not just any person. You have a little bit of celebrity about you. You were known in some circles as a very competent actor, a really good actor in a very serious television production called Empire, and people knew about this. And because you're a celebrity and because you've been so active in all these social justice causes, and this is what is so unbelievable about this case, that you of all people are here convicted of hoaxing hate crimes. You who know better, who are out there in the world trying to be something for the good in social justice causes, that you ended up here right now like this. It's crazy. But you know people in high places, elected public officials. They reacted. You knew mainstream journalists. They reacted.
They sure did.
You became the first page, your front page news. You're talked about in the halls of Congress. People are talking about making laws to prevent what happened to you to happen.
You had dragged in people's Don Lemon in. You had AOC and the crew involved and giving statements. Like, you had everybody putting just it was just a real emotional moment. You had grown-ass men looking into the cameras giving real deep pleas about protect gay people. You had all of that happening off of a lie. You had all of this emotion from people. And you relished in it. Like, you were really trying to come up with on this. Like, this was crazy. You had Mammy Taraji P. Henson out here for you. You had her. Like, it was a bit much. It was a bit much. That somebody needs all of that, right, to get attention. That somebody needs all of that to make something up to get attention. Like, you can say what you want about people in terms of like them putting their business out. If it's their business, it's their business. But nah. I can't respect lying for attention. I can't respect. I have a real hard time respecting lying. I have a real hard time respecting like dirty macking. Like, as I don't need to hate on the next person to shine, right? So when I find like people have to do that, like, you don't have to talk about like other females to men and stuff like that. There's a lot of women that's their game. Like, they want to sit back and make it seem like they're so much better than other women and stuff like that. I have a hard time. Like, I have a hard time with people who just lie. I just do. I just do. So like, that's why for me it was like, nah, Jussie, you's just a liar. And ultimately you did it for attention. Like, the whole, like, we didn't know you were gay until you came on Empire. So like, that was dying off. You weren't buzzing like that. Everybody was getting more and more comfortable, more and more people coming out. Like, it was just not a thing anymore just to be like the first gay person of anything. So, you had to find a different way, and you took the black route. Now, that's what we're mad about as Black Americans, that everybody keeps trying to use us to profit off of, right? And even if it's our own, if your intent is not well, like, we're going to call that out. Like, and this is some bullshit.
Happen to anybody else? People on mainstream media are decrying what happened. What kind of country is this? How could they do this to Jussie? We know Jussie. He's such a gentle guy. He's the guy that was described to me by all the family and friends that I heard from today. And I believe that Jussie exists. But you use them as your patsies too. They were giving you the national pity party you wanted. They're putting you on the front page. All the attention is on you. People talk about social injustice. Your name was coming up first, which is exactly what you wanted. But you used them. If anything, people in those positions, elected public officials, mainstream journalists, their credibility is everything to them. And you didn't care that you might be damaging it. You did damage to them because, again, there's a side of you that has this arrogance and selfishness and narcissism that's just disgraceful.
Not black men with narcissism.
Plan worked, of course, until it didn't. We're in Chicago. You lived here for 5 years, working on the Empire show. And
not black men and narcissism.
As well as anybody that lives in Chicago. The Chicagoans, they love their city. They're fiercely loyal to the city.
Not black men and narcissism. And listen, gay or not, that's a really big thing. When you have someone this manipulative, and he's most definitely outlined, like, he included people that didn't even know that they were a part of his plan by being on the phone with a friend so he can overhear the crime. Like, this is really a problem. This is sick. This is sick. Right? This is really, really, really sick, actually, to be honest with you, right? So, again, instead of our community coming out and say, hey, no, we don't tolerate bullshit like that, and we don't want anybody else to come along and think that it's okay to use black trauma, black pain, to try to hustle off of. And that's where I'm consistent about this, right? Even if it's my own city, and calling out people like Monica Cannon Grant, or different people like Tamika Mallory or Sean King, I'm consistent in saying these people are charlatans within our community. Y'all know I have always said that. I have on several videos, like, I don't like the finesser, I don't like the cons, and the more and more, it just seems like there's more and more people being exposed for not being authentic people. Because the thing is, Jussie Smollett is somebody who would come across as authentic and daring. All those things that people try to assign people with certain personalities that aren't overly aggressive, or aren't talkative, or I guess aren't alpha personalities, or real extroverted personalities. Like, extroverted personalities are demonized and all those other stuff. So, right, so when you see some people that are essentially quiet to themselves and really don't speak unless kind of spoken to type of people, they're very polite, right? It gets passed off as being very polite in their nature, right? Very meek at times, and meek can be good at sometimes, but most definitely I am talking about the negative aspect of when I'm talking about meek. I just want to be clear. So they can be meek at times. Sometimes that is automatically labeled as, oh, they're a nice person, they're soft and all this other stuff, and that's just not always the case, right? I mean, you can have those type of people in terms of Jussie Smollett, and they really have that other side of them that is really evil and really bad and really conniving, manipulative, and all these other things. So that's why it's like really important not to get caught up in personality, and it's always about like actually what is it that you do to people, right? So I find that society, we really do get caught up in personality. And we see that in terms of like pastors and people who get a voice in the community. A lot of times it's about their personality, their ability to speak real well, their ability to command an audience. That looks powerful to some people, right? And it sometimes outweigh the fact that they possibly could not know what they're talking about, and they possibly could be lying. And I just literally just seen that in Clubhouse with this guy and his interpretation of the laws and how they're applied and how they're used just be totally wrong, and in a room with an actual lawyer and trying to tell her she's wrong, right? So I think it's really weird that, sometimes the strongest voice will take over a room because it can command it, but necessarily meaning that the people around and listening don't have the tools to decipher whether or not that this person is selling them up a river. And you hear that a lot on Clubhouse, and you hear that a lot in terms of like people who become influencers, right? I'm just learning about someone like a Darius Cooks, who I follow on Facebook. Like, I didn't know he was a whole crook out here until I got on them people's Twitter and decided to search his name after all these years, right? But there's so many other people. Like, I was on Clubhouse and just found out about this one person named, and this is all allegedly because you know me, Nicole Michelle, that she's also some type of scam artist. Like, everybody's scamming, trying to sell courses and all these things that essentially don't work, or trying to sell you a book. Like, and that's why I'm so adamant by saying it's not because I'm trying to make fun of people who read or don't think reading is something that you should do. I'm never advocating for that. I think anybody who thinks that is stupid. What I am saying that there's something that has to be challenged about people. Like, even if you found something in a book, right? What is your process in determining whether or not you have read a fact or something that it makes sense to you, right? And I think a lot of times people think, hey, this book said it, so that's enough for me. It doesn't matter where I read something at. I still have to go through the process of making sure that it's logical, that if it is defining, I'm sorry, if it is a point that is going against, if I read something that is going against what is popularly believed to be a fact, right? Because sometimes history, because history is already happening, it is essentially a fact, right? For in a lot of ways, especially if a lot of people have determined that they've researched it, blah blah blah. It's considered to be a fact. When you have people who are willing to go against those facts, I can read that book and that person can tell me what they want about a situation, but I still have to be able to go back and critically think about what they're saying to me versus what's known to be a fact, and see where I come with my own conclusion. And I just feel like a lot of people just think that because they can reference a book that's automatically what it is. And sometimes they can be reading a book and it just feels like people don't put a lot of things in context. Like, I don't know how to explain it. People be all over the place. It'd be a very weird. And the only example I can give of you, like what I'm trying to explain, like there are people who believe that we were better off in terms of the black community being a strong black community. We were better off when we were segregated and we did not integrate, right? There are some people who believe that. Now, I even seen that there was tons of rooms being held, and some of these people were like teachers. That's really concerning. But with that being said, if you talk about the strength of our community, and you're talking about like the Harlem Renaissance period and stuff like that, and you're looking at that as highlights in our community, I would say that you're not also looking at the fact that Harlem probably received quite a few people who were migrating from the South to the North because they were escaping the facts of the harsh reality of there not being any economical path to sustain life for black people in the South at the time, right? So they weren't getting jobs, they didn't have opportunities, right? So that's what that migration is about. But when you listen to certain people trying to romanticize certain periods within our history, without acknowledging that, well, at the same time, this was actually happening, and that's why this is a result of, you have all that talent in Harlem, you have that explosion of what happened in Chicago in terms of cities like St. Louis, who received a lot of people who migrated to different types of city. All of that happened because of the ultimate oppression that was occurring in the South, right? So when you see people who aren't able to give you history in that type of context, and they want to romanticize and kind of, keep it general, sign out. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't know what they're talking about. But I've been on Clubhouse and seen people try to have conversations and it just not be full, and it be really selective in what they want to acknowledge in terms of in terms of what they're trying to discuss, right? There's no way you can have that argument, even if you're talking about, if you want to critique MLK and Malcolm X. There's just no way you can ever say that, we're not better for them. And a lot of times when people are on the hustle on these apps and, or in these Clubhouse rooms and they got these audiences, and I very much on the record in the beginning of Clubhouse, and I remember tweeting, "This is dangerous." And I remember tweeting it about Clubhouse because I understood that I have a way of hearing things and knowing what the truth is, basically. But I knew that a lot of people don't have a lot of ways of hearing it and knowing what is true or not. With that being said, very impressionable people, like in terms of the, in the early 2000s, we were always hearing about people getting online and falling into cults or falling into terror cell groups and stuff. And how does that happen, right? How do people get indoctrined with other people's ideologies and philosophies? And literally it happens by people being in rooms such as like a Clubhouse and sitting and listening to someone. Then I'm not saying this person is a cult leader or anything like that, but listening to somebody who can command a room so strong, right? And their voice don't crack and all that other shit, that someone who could command a room so strong but still be wrong, right? Still be wrong, right? Still planting seeds. There's one slick nigga. He's, from them people's Arkansas. He got tied up, and these are facts, right? He got tied up as being a part of some sex ring, right? And mastermind, because he was in the middle of the chart. You know what I mean? Y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all ever watching these police detective movies and anything like that, or The Wire? You always know that Stringer Bell and what's his name, Avon Barksdale, was in the middle. That's who they were trying to get. So you know what I'm trying to say. I'm giving you references. So this whole ass nigga on the Clubhouse, he that nigga in the middle of the board. So y'all know for real that he was really, into some things. I tell y'all about him, and I don't even need to tell y'all his name, but I tell y'all about him because he now is on them people's Clubhouse trying to tell people how Martin Luther King and Malcolm X weren't, they didn't do nothing. Trying to convince people they weren't the leaders that we needed and they didn't do what they were supposed to. All this is modern day dirty macking. This is dirty macking in the activism community. That's all this is. Because if I can tear down who you think is a hero in terms of MLK and Malcolm X and all those other people and tell you that they were inadequate as a leader, and I can tell you what they did wrong and what I'm about and what I'm trying to do and all this other stuff, all of a sudden you subscribe and then you are following this person and you're donating to them, and all of a sudden they coming up with different reasons on why you should give them money. And a lot of times it has to do with them into either owing child support, into crime and stuff like that, and now you the followers and he's the man, and the man is on him, and that's because of his messages from the community, and they are just trying to hold me back. They don't want me to speak to the people. They don't want me to speak to the people. You get a whole lot of that shit, right? You do. You get a whole lot of that shit, right? And I remember sitting on Clubhouse saying that this is dangerous. This is dangerous because there are going to be some people who are going to fall for that. There are going to be so many people who feel like that their situations are based on the same type of systematic oppression, so they feel where this brother's coming from. And so we continue to keep on having this within our community, and we continue to keep on having these charlatans appear in our community. That's why it's so easy for Tasha K to try to flip her lying on Cardi B and being found guilty and admitting to that she lied several times in a court, and trying to flip it into a black agenda issue. And we see it now being repeated by Jussie Smollet, where he's attempting to do the same thing. You literally just got caught lying, right? And you probably wouldn't have gotten all of this time in anything if you would had some contrite, if you were apologetic a little bit, if you just admitted that you did something wrong, right? How do you forgive somebody who doesn't even acknowledge that they did anything wrong? How do you have mercy for somebody who doesn't understand their problematicness and will continue to be the same problematic person? Because at the end of the day, he's continuing to be the same problematic person. And if walking out with the black fist held up and all the other stuff, you're still playing into this character that you scripted out. No, it don't go like that. It just really don't.
Believe me, Chicagoans know we don't all agree with each other on a lot. There are all kinds of disagreements on what our city should be, what the vision should be for the future. There's even disagreements about what our past was like. But despite all the disagreements and all the things that are not right with Chicago, it's sweet home to Chicago to the Chicagoans. Chicagoans are fiercely loyal to their city. But Chicagoans have one thing in common that they agree on, that there's no misunderstandings. Everybody's on the same page. And that page is crime is a problem. It is a major problem. Nobody disagrees. And we know that police resources, they are valuable. They're limited. Detective resources are precious. And they cannot be squandered. What you did because you were selfishly, arrogantly, and narcissistically bringing attention to yourself. It's the only reason you could have been doing such a crazy thing that you did was you took away a lot of resources from other places, from other real victims of real crimes. You used up the police resources for your own benefit, and that's a big problem here. What you did is you created what we call around here a heater. What's a heater? A heater is a case that when it's reported to the public conscience is shocked to such an extreme that the public is demanding that the police solve this crime here, right now.
Oh, okay. I thought he said you created a hater. I had to get back on there. I had to get up like the camera, like the microphone speak. I had to lift my head up because I was like, did he say a hater? I was like, what did he say? But basically, like, okay, now I get what I think he said a heater. He knew what he was doing. He knew how to flip it. Sort of like a Tasha K, like sort of like all these people. Like even the woman in my city, the Monica Cannon Grant person, has been caught lying in terms of the money she's taken, well, the loan and stuff. And now all of a sudden it's systematic oppression. Now all of a sudden it's people picking on the black woman, the loudmouth black woman, the same syndicate, same publications in terms of the news that was publishing your accomplishments and bigging you up and had nothing but great things to say to you. Now that they have some critique about some shit that they found out about you, now it's the man just jealous and they just want to take you down. That it don't go like that. It just don't go. You know, you can't call people a hater that once celebrated you, like after they found out that you are the problem. Like that's a little weird to me. That's a little weird. That's way too weird for me.
Right here, right now, everything else has to take second place. The heater has to be addressed. And you created the heater. And boy, did they put on an investigation. And I know that I've been listening to Chicago police officers and listening about police investigations for many years. It's certainly not a perfect police department. It's perhaps unfairly maligned in some respects as well. I'll match the homicide detectives here against any in the country for their competence and thoroughness. Not a question about that. But what they did in this case is extraordinary. I've never seen, even in some murder cases, the amount of police work that went into this investigation. You did exactly what you didn't want to happen. They put so many police resources into this. When I say what you didn't want to happen is you never wanted this case solved. You thought that somehow you'd be able to skate by and nobody would ever know what really happened here. And you're going to walk away from this, and it didn't go down like that at all, of course.
Yeah.
So they solved the case. And what happened? Turns out that you're not a victim of a hate crime.
Not at all.
You're not a victim of a racial hate crime. You're not a victim of a homophobic hate crime. You're just a charlatan pretending to be a victim of a hate crime. And that's shameful. The family you got brought up with your family values. It's so sad. The damage you've done to yourself is way beyond anything else that can happen to you from me or any other judge that would be sentencing you in this criminal case. You are now a permanently convicted felon.
Permanently?
Your
Damn.
family who loves you and supports you. I only want to use the word forgive because forgiveness isn't even necessary. They're with you so much. They're so tight-knit. But you have to live with the fact that you really put them through a ringer. You've embarrassed your valuable friends in high places, elected public officials, people in the media. You've embarrassed them. You have to live with that. I don't know if those relationships can be repaired.
If I was Don Lemon, if I seen him out in the street, I would punch him in his damn face. And granted, I'm being funny, but no, like he threw people underneath the bus. Like people got caught up, like because he released messages and things that people was trying to help him communicate. I think Don Lemon allegedly is the one who sent him a message letting him know that the police don't believe him and doesn't believe him because he had got word of it. He threw that out there. It's just like I just don't get liars, and then you still have no loyalty to the people that you have gotten not loyalty, but like you have no I want to say loyalty, but like have no loyalty to the people who were trying to look out for you in a mess that you created. Like that's, I don't know. Like I said, everybody's different, but that's some craziness.
You become toxic in your own workplace, your career future is uncertain at very best. It was really on a rocket ship to success, and now you've turned yourself into riches to rags, and it's so unfortunate. Your very name has become an adverb for lying, and I cannot imagine what could be worse than that.
Just like Tasha K. Could you imagine? Could you imagine being in media and then your name could be an adverb for lying? That discredits you. Like when people think about your name, it's like citing you and all this other stuff. It becomes a joke. It becomes a joke. So when you decide the fact that you want to be about that lying life, like you really have to like weigh that out, because once people are just like, you just lie and you just lie for no reason. Well, not no reason. We know why Tasha lied, but like, nah. The fact that Tasha thinks she like lied and still a reputable and good person, and I don't know, that's weird to me. But as you can see, when you talk about narcissistic personalities and all this other stuff, and how they show up just like this. Like, you made me, essentially what these people are saying, and this is why some people may feel like they're narcissistic, and that's why I do. Like I said, I ain't got no degree in nothing to be saying people are narcissistic. This is allegedly, this is all my opinions and shit. But with that being said, the one thing that you see that they automatically do, they're most definitely, they won't want to take accountability, and then two, it's always them framing it in a way as if though they were made to kind of do this in a sort of type of way. And so that's where, you know, you have Tasha. It's the white man. It's the pressure. It's the media. It's the payola behind Cardi B and stuff like that, right? So, and even with, you know, how Jussie is switching this around, it's hate, right? Like for some odd reason, like that's what makes this crazy, right? Like someone made him do this. Now all of a sudden it's a social issue. No.
Somebody's lying and trying to manipulate and maneuver a story, and your name comes up. It's, pulling a Jussie, something like that. That's awful.
Pulling a Jussie.
Comedians, mainstream talk show hosts, they make jokes about you. They do sketches about you. I can't imagine anything worse than that. No, this is all self-inflicted. These are things you did to yourself. This is
Tell him, Judge.
Well, some people may think that what you did is funny, and there's some room for humor or jokes about it. But I assure you, this court does not. I don't think there is anything funny at all about hoaxing and faking racial hate crimes.
Nothing is funny about
Hoaxing
that.
or faking homophobic hate crimes. I think that is disgraceful. There is nothing funny about it. There's no humor in what you did whatsoever.
And that's what made me want to do this video and talk about it, because I was disappointed in listening to Roland Martin and his panel, because it just seems so convenient not to mention that he still is saying that he's not guilty. But on top of that, like, there's always this analytical breakdown of the jury in terms of like who was his jury and stuff like that. I didn't hear of any of that conversation being had during his panel review. And the only reason I say that, because these are a jury of his peers who decided that he's guilty, right? Which means that other people don't feel the same way that, you know, other black people, right, have also heard the evidence and does not feel that he's not guilty. They feel that he's guilty of what he's done, and there's no acknowledgement of that. All of a sudden, we're not talking about the jury and maybe potentially him not being having a fair trial. None of that. Conveniently not mentioning these things and want to turn it into this civil rights type of situation and over sentencing in terms of what black people experience within our justice system, and not wanting to acknowledge that, you know, they got it right based on the evidence of everything. Like, that matters, right? I know everybody want to compare to January 6th and the time that people got. I'm not saying that is okay, but I'm also not going to sit up here and say because that is not okay that we should then turn around and let them give less of a penalty to Jussie, when we know it has nothing to do with it being because he's black. And it just is really not, because there are some black people who got caught up in that January 6th. But I also know that people who did not who did not plead guilty did get longer sentencing, right? So that also did not come up in that panel review. It made it seem as though that, everybody got these really low sentences, and for what they did on January 6th is not true. It runs the gamut, right? I think they could have been stricter, but it does run the gamut, and they didn't bring that out. They didn't say any of that. But okay, here we go.
All because you're selfish, arrogant, narcissistic. At least you have that side in you that came out through this case, and you kept doubling down and doubling down and doubling down. It's not funny. It's not funny at all. And I'm your sentencing judge, and I don't find it funny. So where are we at?
And this judge is dead on. Like, I have to look this judge up. This judge is dead on, because, like, okay, when you talk about the black community, we talk about, even if we talk about in the last 3 or 4 weeks of what we've seen socially and how we show up about talking about accountability and holding people within our community accountable, right? And if whether or not this judge is right with saying there's a problem here, and there's somebody needs to come in and really magnify that this was really a big deal, right? You can't just go around lying. But on top of that, let's look at how we handle situations like Kanye West, right? He's another black man in our community that's most definitely extremely narcissistic with a lot of mental health issues, right? And we continue to keep on trying to give him space in a way that gives what he says legitimacy. Gives him a platform to be taken serious. We continue to let the world take him serious, despite of like what he's doing in terms of behavior, because of the money, right? We sit here, let him harass his ex-wife. We let him do all these really weird things, concerning things. And we made it seem like it was normal. We made it seem, more of us, like this was a Kardashian takedown of another black man. Now, all of a sudden, we've made him a victim in a situation that he participated in a marriage that he was in, right? So now he's automatically the victim, even though we see him doing it destructive. We see him causing a scene in terms of around his daughter's birthday party. Then to find out he lied, there was supposed to be 2 parties, right? Like, but he was trying to position his baby. Trying to position Kim Kardashian in a way that made her look like she was trying to keep his kids from him, because he knew how that would play out in the media. He knew how that would play out with black women. Really, that they would pick up his issue as a black man being done wrong by a white woman. That's essentially what he wanted, right? We all know that Kim Kardashian is mixed white and Armenian. It just is what it is. But he knew that would play into that. And so he most definitely did everything publicly to make it uncomfortable for her. To the point where, I know she recently just had this, I think it was GQ. I'm not sure. She just recently had this interview, and in this interview, she was talking about the work she puts in, and maybe some people being a hater and really resenting her for her success. And that if people resent her, I think she was very cavalierly just like, just got to do the work and stop being lazy. I think she took that position. And I can't even believe I'm saying it, because I'm not someone was like the biggest Kim Kardashian fan, but I find it really hypocritical that certain black women in media now all of a sudden have a problem with Kim Kardashian, considering what she has done over the years as hard work, when there's so many other black women within spaces in terms of like IG and different things like that, in terms of like online boutiques and stuff like that that believe that they are working hard too. There are women who've made their name through either being in relationships with other men, especially I'm talking about black women too, video vixens, women like Ari Fletcher and stuff like that, women who are just known for being girlfriends that have turned their girlfriend status into successful businesses. And there's no call out for that, right? And they most definitely allude to the fact that they're working hard and all those other stuff, and no one and they're very dismissive and they talk down on people, right? For all that they have. Like, people are just not working hard enough. They say that all the time. So I think it's very convenient that certain black women have taken this time to come together, it seems, to throw some hate Kim's way. And that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion on that. Like, that's how I feel. And I did read that article. I read the article before all the backlash, and I was like, I did say to myself, this is not going to go over well. I did know that how it sounded, but I felt like it sounded two ways, right? I felt like it sounded like a woman that is feeling more empowered, a woman that is just trying to get her life back together. I felt like she was just like, hear me roar. I know who I am. I've worked really hard. I think that's more or less what she was trying to get across, but I think that little could, most definitely is a way of haters coming out to try to demonize people. I mean, I don't know how I got on that, but that's just what I think.
We're at the end. You are convicted of a Class 4 felony. It's presumptively probationable, but we have some real serious aggravating factors here. Your premeditation, which I've described. The pain you've caused to real victims of hate crimes, which I've described. The damage you've done to the city of Chicago, I've heard. It's been talked about. I'm mindful of the city's request for restitution, and if I'm going to fashion that, consider that request, I have to fashion the sentence accordingly. And above all, the capper of all cappers, your performance on the witness stand. This could only be described as pure perjury. You got on the witness stand, you didn't have to, you did, you certainly have a right to, but you committed hour upon hour upon hour of pure perjury. And I find all those to be ample factors. If this court were to decide that the things you did, that any kind of probationary sentence would deprecate the seriousness of the offense and you need to go to the penitentiary, the record is clear and it would support it. But I'm looking at everything in its totality. And I agree. It's told to me today, you can't judge everybody by one bad thing they've done in their life. I don't know if it's the only bad thing, but it's the only bad thing that I'm concerned about now. And that you do have quite a record of real community service and quite a record of attaching with people. There is a lot of mitigation in this case as well. And I'm mindful of the pleas of mercy, particularly from people that are in the arena of dealing with social justice issues, that are fighting, seriously fighting, not playing around, not doing games like you were doing, but seriously fighting for matters involving hate crimes of all sorts. And they're asking you for mercy as well.
Fuck them.
So I'm trying to consider who you are as a person, how you got here, how somehow you strayed away from your family values.
And listen, and I want to be clear because I think I can be very cheeky and I can come off as very aggressive. I know that, but it comes with knowing if I'm saying fuck them and he's talking about the NAACP and he's talking about I think Jussie Jackson also sent him a letter he mentioned before. And the reason I can say fuck them is because, like I said, everyone has been it for the past 15, 20 years in terms of those individuals have been in it for money, right? So it's really kind of the reason why it's fuck them is because it feels like everybody is hustling, right? And so you're using other hustlers to say, hey, it's okay, let him go. It's okay. It's cool. Well, we're not that mad about that. It's like using other hustlers to legitimize or to validate other hustlers. That's what it seems like in terms of like mentioning the NAACP and Jussie Jackson. Right? So that's why it's fuck them, because we don't care about what they think about this, because we know that they're willing to sell us out too. So, yeah, it is what it is. That's why it's fuck them.
You let that dark, narcissistic, selfish, and arrogant side come out. You persisted with it for years on this case. I'm fashioning the following sentence, and here's your sentence. I'm sentencing you to 30 months felony probation, and the probation is going to be to this court. You're going to be allowed to travel wherever you want. You do not have to live in the state of Illinois. You can report by phone. I know that if you're going to try to make a living and do some of the things you do, you may have to go to other places, New York and Los Angeles. You can do those things. You will pay restitution to the city of Chicago in the amount of $120,106. You are fined $25,000, which is the maximum fine. And you will spend the first 150 days of your sentence in the Cook County Jail. And that will start today, right here, right now. Mr. Smollet, though the jury found you guilty and I've sentenced you as I have, you have the right to appeal the findings and rulings to the court or ask your sentence to be modified. To do those things, you need to file a notice of appeal in writing within 30 days. You may also file a motion to modify your sentence, which would have to be filed in writing within 30 days. Anything not stated in those filings are waived for purposes of appeal. You cannot afford lawyers or transcripts. They would be provided free of charge. Do you have any questions?
No, I would just like to say to Your Honor that I am not suicidal. That's what I would like to say.
Okay.
I am not suicidal.
Okay.
I am not suicidal. I am innocent, and I am not suicidal. If I did this, then it means that I stuck my fist in the fears of Black
Look at
Americans
this.
in this country for
Tasha
over
K all over again.
of the LGBTQ community. Your
Oh
Honor,
my
I respect you, I
God.
respect the jury, but I did not do this, and I am not suicidal. And if anything
Y'all hear this? Like, this man is like, he's an actor. He's an actor. His families are actors. Like, and I ain't trying to throw no dirt towards them. I'm just saying, like, this is award winning. Like, this is we've seen a new Jussie. This is not the Jussie that we got in first season of Empire. Like, this is manly Jussie. Like, Jussie is like, I am black and I'm proud type of Jussie. Like, I hear you, but Jussie, you did this shit, right? And so the whole I'm not suicidal thing is like him trying to make himself seem like he's a political activist that potentially that the government is trying to silence, and the extent that they'll go to silence him is make it seem as though he Jeffrey Epsteined himself in the Chicago's people's Cook County. So basically he's throwing this out so that way you know, and he's still fighting to the end with his manipulation of making it seem as though, you know, I'm not suicidal. So if anything happens to me because of they want to silence me, it's not me, it's them. Basically, that's what this is. I mean, the hustle is so great, y'all.
happens to me when I go in there, I did not do it to myself. And
No.
you must all know that.
You didn't do this. You didn't do this, my nigga. So I feel you.
Respect your decision. Jail time. I am not suicidal.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Uche, let me inquire, are there any post-sentencing motions you care to present right now?
Yes, Judge.
Yes, Ms. Mill.
The defense would wish to present a motion to reconsider sentence
All right.
and file it in standard.
All right. It is timely filed.
Thank you, Judge.
And let me say, I've obviously considered the sentence in great length, and it's timely filed, so it's preserved for purposes of appeal. Motion to reconsider sentence is respectfully denied.
He wants your ass in jail tonight.
Anything else? Just a
Last
second.
night.
Is there going to be a notice of appeal filed?
Yes, Judge, we're filing a notice of appeal, we're gonna be emailing to the clerk right now, to the office.
You doing it in Stanter? And are you
Yes,
going to be handling the appeal?
Judge, as of now, yes.
Well, you have to commit to
Yes,
handling the
Judge.
appeal
Yes,
for the
yes,
appellate
we're
court.
filing a
Okay.
notice of appeal.
All right, notice of appeal may be filed. Charlotte, now I need the prosecutors to work with Charlotte, the probation officer, to work out probation specifications with the conditions I've just explained. 150 days in the county jail, restitution of fines. Oh, and also statutory DNA and costs are ordered as well. That's statutory. So you have to fill out the probation specifications, and I'm going to get somebody to help you do that. But we need to get that done in Stanter. Anything else today? Yes.
Your Honor, if I may, in light of the notice of appeal, we would ask that you suspend the jail sentence in light of the
Do what?
filing of the notice of appeal.
Did I do what?
Suspend the jail sentence in light of the notice of filing of appeal.
He said, hell no.
Yes, Mark. Mr. Lewis.
If it can be stayed in light of our notice of appeal.
No, I'm not staying. No. The wheels of justice turn slowly. Sometimes the hammer of justice has to fall, and it's falling right here, right now. I'm not staying this.
Not the hammer.
This happens right here, right now.
Not the hammer.
Charlotte?
The wheels of justice turn slow, and it turns slow. But sometimes the hammer
I'll
falls.
talk to you about it. I'll give you news. Okay.
Jussie's not done,
Any
y'all.
other matters to come before the court today? All right, defendants remanded to the custody sheriff. Court is
Jussie's
adjourned.
not done.
I am not suicidal. I am not suicidal.
Stop locking up our black men.
I could have said
That was the older sister, Jazz. We gonna get to her in a second. All right, so I wanted to take this time because I wanted you guys to show what the family had to say. I told you guys, I was like really feeling sorry for Jussie. Knew he wasn't built for this and all this other stuff, but it was seeing what the judge, listening to what the judge said, and then also seeing how Jussie Smollett is still playing the character that he scripted to create this hoax, to create this lie, right? And just to then see how it was just enforced by his enablers, which is his family, that also seemed to have bought into his rhetoric, because they can just as easily just say, you know, we support Jussie, you know, we believe him to be innocent. But I think once you start playing into the whole, the government is trying to silence him and the hardships and the, you know, this is just another black man being arrested, then you start to lose me, which I'm actually really surprised about, like the tone and the nature of like some of the talking points that, or some of the things that you hear from this family, because from what I just heard from the judge, they are they are half black, and then their mother is black and their father is Jewish, so so they have black and white. So, but the tones of what I'm hearing here is just really weird for me personally. Like I said, this is just still my opinion. But the brother talks a lot about shaming, and this is not what you do in 2022. And I think it's really interesting when that's all media does do in terms of like reporting on things. And sometimes people go viral, and they go viral sometimes for the good things, and they go most definitely go viral for the bad things, and they stay in circulation for a little bit until the next story. So I'm not quite sure why the brother is making it seem as if though every day or in some place somewhere somebody is making it, or that Jussie's situation is one that the public is picking up and doing something that is not per se normal to what we do in general in terms of news, right? So I think if we do anything outside of that, in terms of like, let's say somebody has decided for every day, for not every day, but every time they decide to do a story, they somehow include Jussie, and they include this story and talking about him every day, then I think that's more or less a public shaming thing, and then I think public shaming is happening. But I don't think it's happening when you see us like in society behaving how we always behave in terms of a story. So that's a little weird that they're using that framing, but to me it was the way they're framing things and the talking points are a little bit weird to me. But who am I?
And Erica, before we dive into that, I do want to throw over to Jussie Smollett's older brother, JoJo, who's speaking right now. So let's go over to that right now.
He spoke about his arrogance. He doesn't know the struggles my brother is encountering. He doesn't know anything that he's dealing with. He doesn't know anything that he's dealing with. He spent all that time shaming him. In 2022, we don't shame people like this. All right? He basically called him a mental case. All right? If you look at that testimony, he basically reiterated and regurgitated all the prosecutors said. There was no independence. This is a duly elected judge in Cook County. He's supposed to be elected by the people, not just a stooge and a rubber stamp for the prosecutors. And I'm very disappointed, very disappointed. My name is JoJo Smollet. I'm his oldest.
JoJo, I remember you. You were so cute in that show. Were you the older brother that was the older brother on the show? I remember when y'all had the show. I remember that. But JoJo, I don't see where he was being a stooge. I seen someone who was a student to life and a student to paying attention to different things, and especially in terms of the civil rights and things in terms of lynching and knowing the history of things. I didn't hear anything that was stooges, outside of the fact that he was really offended by your brother choosing to be a black man and choosing to do something to just to benefit himself. And I just don't hear the stooge talk.
Brother.
Come on, sister.
I have something I want to say quickly. My name is Jussie Smollet. I'm his older sister. First of all, I want to say my brother is innocent. My brother Jussie is innocent. This should not be a controversial statement because it is the absolute truth. What should be controversial is the entire miscarriage of justice this whole ordeal has been. I pray peace over my brother. I pray the peace of God over my brother and all victims of oppression and hate.
Not oppression and hate.
I pray that we can do better as a world. May the God of peace be with you. Shalom.
What y'all hearing?
My name is Jussie Smollet. I am Jussie's youngest brother.
What y'all hear?
My brother does not deserve this. I watched my brother go from being a complete victim, which he still is. He was attacked. and he is now going to jail for being attacked. I saw my brother get locked up within 2 weeks for being attacked. Do you know how crazy that is? They want to say in that court and say that he's the reason why folks aren't going to report hate crimes. They're the reason why folks aren't going to report hate crimes.
Because none of you believed it.
None of y'all believed it. We have letters from the NAACP, President Derek Johnson himself. We have letters from Rainbow Push Coalition. We have letters from the Innocence Project, all saying that he should not be in jail. And they put him in jail. That judge chastised him. He chastised my brother. He does not deserve this. He was attacked. Do people never once think, even the folks who are naysayers, do you ever once think, what happens if he's telling the truth?
He's telling the truth.
Do y'all ever think about how poorly you feel in that situation?
No.
He's in jail for 5 months. That is unacceptable. For being attacked. It is not his fault that folks are not going to believe.
And this is where it becomes hard, because it's like you don't want to you want to sit up here and make it seem as though for the black people, let's say black people, and we don't believe him. You want to make us feel as if though we're not standing for somebody when there's been evidence that's been able to been produced, right? And that your brother had the same opportunity with his lawyers and his and the ability to fight against this evidence, and he came up short, right? He has no responses, and he has no explanations for text messages, right? He has no explanation for pictures and phone conversations. Like, if you said that these men attacked you and they put the noose on you, but we see in the video that they weren't able to put that noose on you, and then when the police arrive, the noose is on you and you're tightening it and all types of other weird shit. Like, what are we supposed to do with that? Like, how are we even, as black people, if we just want to defend you for just the sake of you being another black man and holding you down? How the fuck we defend the fact that you decide to put that noose around your neck? Right? How? Because what about you versus the other black brothers, and in turning those two brothers who attacked you, who've came forward and told the plan? Do you think that we're supposed to now say, okay, now, but we got to pick this black brother because this is the more famous black brother over these two black brothers who say that black brother orchestrated and mastermind? Like, how we out here choosing on which black brothers to believe? We don't. We just choose to believe the evidence, right? And that's what makes it so hard. Because like I said, you hear all types of like weird messaging, black power type of messaging in how they're speaking. But that's just not it. And that's what the judge was calling out. And you see that same type of arrogance that is showing up in Jussie Smollett, showing up in his siblings. So which lets me know. And that's why the judge is very clear. The judge was very clear with pointing out the fact that Jussie's family and their history and him being well read, he can't claim ignorance, and not even to say ignorance is you can claim ignorance of the law, but they're saying that you don't even, I can't even, because a judge has discretion on how they can sentence you, and this judge was clear in saying I can't even have discretion with sentencing you because I'm quite aware that you are quite aware of knowing the history and the severity of what you did. So how do I sit back and think maybe that, oh, maybe you're a youth from the inner city that probably didn't have exposure to education and didn't know any better, and that potentially you probably were doing something out of opportunity. Like he named all the different reasons why you commit crime, why people commit crime, and that you don't fit any of those categories because you planned it out. And even a youth who may be lying about something, they're doing it on the spot. They're not thinking about it. It's part of survival. Nothing you did in terms of, making $2 million a year, something that most people, not most, like people will never see that. Regular people will never see that. So there's no hardship here. There's no real oppression that you personally have had to deal with knowing that your family has been in acting, has been in California, and you've been relatively okay all your life. Now, am I saying that you've been rich all your life? I'm not going to make those assumptions. But when it comes to hardships and potentially needing to lie still, any of those things people do in terms of survival, you have experienced none of that shit. That makes it so disingenuous of what your older brother said. You don't know what he has to deal with. No, we don't know what he has to deal with. Well, we know what he will have to deal with going forward. But at the same time, we know that your brother didn't come from any severe hardship, that you should feel as if though it should play a factor into how people feel about what he's done. That's disingenuous. right? Your brother created his own problem that he's existing in right now. Like, he created this. He wrote it out. Like, that's what the judge said. He literally had a script. He was he's on point. he believes in putting in the work. He had rehearsals. Did you hear the judge? There was rehearsals and all of that. Like, he literally thought this out. So, I mean, 5 months is not that long, bro.
Survivors anymore. He's a survivor and he has been completely mistreated, and this has to stop.
I hear you, Jazz, though. He ain't kill nobody, so
moment there, and we have seen. Let's listen to Grandma.
Being abducted into the prison system. You know it. And you guys got to do more investigative reporting. More investigation, okay? Thanks.
Can you say, Molly, do you want his comments after the sentencing, the reiteration, the repeating that he's not suicidal? Are you worried about what's going to happen to him in prison? Why do you think he said that?
He just wanted to reassure us. He wanted to reassure us.
So that was for you?
He's innocent, okay? Like so many in prison that shouldn't be there. Get the white-collar guys, okay, who are really making money, who are really corrupt. We've got to do something about saving our democracy here so that we don't get another Putin, okay? I love you guys, okay? I'm a film person.
My name is Nate Phillips, and I would just like to say, until the person who recently occupied the White House, the judge said that Mr. Smollett was accused of lying. Well, guess what? The man that occupied the White House was accused of telling thousands of lies. And as long as he remains free, Jussie should remain free.
Okay, this is a gentleman not connected necessarily with the Smollett group, but then hearing an interesting anecdote from Grandma there. We were trying to read into Erica what he was saying. I am not suicidal. I'm not suicidal. She says the meaning was literal to the family, saying, don't worry about me.
Yes.
Don't worry about my mental health as I go into jail.
And he did. We could see him at different times looking around the courtroom, seeing
So Grandma did the same thing I did when I was talking about Trump, and when you're talking about people lying and being able to get away with it in society, allowing it. And I think people get comfortable with thinking when they reach a certain level of exposure and celebrity and have a certain stature that they can get away with just doing whatever the hell they want. And I think for the world, especially here in America, Trump was most definitely someone who showed us, like, you can get away with lying your entire life. And nobody's going to hold you responsible because you're just going to act like Billy Badass, and you're just going to allow people to fall on the sword for you, be clever enough not to get yourself all the way caught up. And that's literally what Trump is showing us. So I think the grandma is just trying to say that, we should be more concerned about the white collar criminals and not her son, her grandson, which, we're still talking about non-violent crime. So I think they can be concerned about both of them equally. To be completely honest with you, Grandma, you do have a point that they do need to go after those white people who do those crimes too. But, your grandson did a crime too, and they can equally go after that. But I most definitely just wanted to show you guys that this is what was on my mind in terms of, my thoughts and opinions in terms of, what's going on with Jussie Smollett. I got some eye energy left, so I'm gonna get in here and record a few more videos while I can. But yeah, if you like it, if you like what you heard, please let me know. Leave me a comment. Tell me what you think. Do you believe that Jussie Smollett is a victim of the white man after another black man from what his family was screaming out, or do you think that the justice system really did what it was supposed to do based on the fact that he did lie? The evidence says he lied. He was found guilty by a jury of his peers, and that it represented, across the board. So, and everyone feels as though he's had a fair trial. And on top of that, he doesn't admit to being guilty. He doesn't admit to lying. So, do you really feel that he deserves sympathy with not changing, or not conforming to not changing, or not? I say not changing, but his unwillingness to accept the fact that he lied. And that's dangerous, because now we have somebody who just really is going to get out of jail and really think that he was some type of political, inmate. Like, he really feels like he's been a political person that has been targeted by the government, and all in an attempt to silence him. Like, that's so fucking weird. But that's where we're at. Like I said, I am out. Y'all know how I say we keep it bougie, we keep it posh, we keep it black as F, and bye.